Hey, fellow astronomers. I guess welcome to part 3 of this silly roof Arduino project. In the last two, we've kind of talked about the I guess the system overall, and then kind of how the electronics works. And on this one, I'm going to talk about the Arduino code, and the next one, the ASCOM drivers. The ASCOM drivers was more for myself, so I remember how to do it. But as far as the Arduino code itself goes, essentially, you just need to install, obviously, the Arduino stuff, and then I will post links to all the drivers that you have to install. This specific board happens to be, I'm using just the generic ESP8266 module is what I'm compiling this as, and here's all my settings. I think the only one I changed was the upload setting was, I think, the only one that I had to change for that specific Arduino that I'm using. And obviously you've got to set the port on it, and I don't have it plugged in right now, but that would be pretty much it. And then you can just basically hit this button here to compile and upload it. The included libraries, these are the libraries that you need. Again, I'll post a link to all of those. But things that you're going to change or you can change in here, essentially just your Wi-Fi name, whatever your Wi-Fi name is, and your password to get onto your Wi-Fi. You then also give the Arduino an IP address, for example, whatever 192.168.1.5 or whatever you want to give the IP address for the Arduino. If you give it a gateway, the Arduinos don't have a built-in clock on them. I probably, maybe in the next version, I'll actually add the DSCT, whatever 2341 or whatever that module is, so that it can have a clock and keep time. But as of right now, it needs a gateway, and that's to go out and get the time and that sort of stuff. Then you also need, or if you want, you can put in a IP address to ping. So the point of this IP address, so for example 14 here, it's going to use the same first three subnets. So this is going to be 192.168.1.14, or whatever device you want that if you lose power, it can no longer ping that device. So you want something that normally it can ping, and if power goes out, it can't ping that device. And so the point here is you can set a ping check time. So for example, 240 here simply means every 240 seconds or every 4 minutes, it's going to ping that IP address. If however many fails you want, by default, 4 fails, it's going to close the roof. So every 4 minutes, it's going to ping it. If it pings it, it doesn't work, pings it, doesn't work, pings and works, okay, it resets it. But if it doesn't work 4 consecutive times, it says, hey, power's went out, we're going to close the roof. So you can change that 4 minutes to whatever you want and as many fails as you want to whatever you want. Then we've got the actual roof itself. So we've got an open time and a close time, O time and C time. O time is, for my roof, is 26 seconds. So the point is divide this by 100. So it's 260, but it's 26 seconds. So the point is it closes for 26 seconds. Now that shouldn't be how long it takes for your roof to close. So if your roof, let's say, closes in 20 seconds. You don't put 20 here, you put 18 or 17 or something short of that. So the point is that the roof closes, and then it's after that time it goes into what we call this bumping stage. And all the point is of the bumping is that it stops your roof, and then it just slowly, for example, this is the on time and off time. This is in milliseconds. So it's going to be on for 100, off for 50, on for 100, off for 50, on for 100, off for 50, and that just, the relay will go click, 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 which just basically bumps your roof slowly closed rather than it just going boom and slamming closed. So that's the idea of it. It might take you a little playing around. Maybe you want 100 and 100, or maybe you want 50 and 100, or maybe you want 200. I mean, you can play around with that. So the point is your roof should be closing, and then when it goes to bump, it should slow it down, and it should be smooth, not like although I mean you're defeating the whole point of it if you do that. So you set the open time, you set your close time, again, shorter than it needs to be, and then you can set this bump on and off time and how many times you want to bump. So again, if you're, in this case, it's 150 milliseconds, one on and off is 150 times 80, whatever that works out to be, that's my total bump time. In the web interface, when you do it and it's actually closing, it'll show you the percent closed, and then when it goes bumping, it'll also show that as a percentage. And I try to have it so, again, at least for our roof, we've got a cable on it that totally sags due to temperature. So the bumping cycle might be a second or two in some cases, and when it's really hot and it's sagging, it might be 4 or 5 seconds. So I try to make that bumping time at least 20%, and no more than like say 70%, because you for sure want it to close every time type thing. So those are just the parameters that you're going to have to play around with for your specific setting or site. And the last one is just your time zone. Put in whatever your time zone is and your latitude and longitude, and all that is for is getting the sunrise and sunset. So that's pretty much all you have to configure. If you want to actually look at the code itself, there's not a ton here. Again, there are 2 pins, 2 inputs. Those are the 2 roof switches. There's 2 outputs. Those are the 2 that control the relay. That's it. So there is only 2 inputs and 2 outputs on this thing. There's the whole web server stuff is right in here if you want to go ahead and change colors or anything you want. One thing I will say, so I've actually, these buttons have, like you can see, get /1/closed or get /1/open. That's going to become important when we get to the next point or writing our Arduino drivers. But if I go ahead and look at this, and this Arduino happens to be on 115.8, I look at it, this is the normal state that you'll see, the Windows interface. If I click this Set Auto Close button, you can see that actually goes to a web page down there called /1/set_time. So I'm actually going to that web page. There we go. And it went out to the web. It grabbed the current time, and it grabbed us sunrise and sunset for our sunrise for our location. Subtracted a half an hour is just what I assume for nautical twilight, and basically it says we're going to close the dorm in 11 hours and 53 minutes from now. We're going to close the dorm. So there's really 4 ways the dorm can close. 1, we actually click close. 2, we have the auto close set, so in the morning basically it auto closes. 3, if the ping timeout, if it can't ping that address 4 times, it's going to auto close thinking that it's lost power. And the 4th way would be actually in Sequence Generator Pro via the ASCOM driver. We can say open or close. And all that really boils down to, again, with these Arduinos, if you look like this disable button here, you can see this actually hits a web page called /1/set_time_off. I mean, that's just what I called this button. So if I store this web page, I could actually just store that as a bookmark, and rather than coming in here and click disable, I could just click that bookmark. If I click close, it just goes to that website. So I don't want to save this as my default bookmark, or every time I hit that, it's going to actually close the roof. And I don't know if you heard that click. I'll move this over here so you can maybe hear the relay. But right now that relay just clicked to close. It's trying to close the roof. I can actually in here manually come in, and there we go. I just manually told it that it was closed, or I manually flipped the switches, and I can say open. Oops. And open it. Close that to there. Sorry. And we'll let it go into its bumping cycle so you can hear the relays swap back and forth. But otherwise, that's pretty much in the Arduino. Again, if the code is pretty straightforward, if there's anything anybody wants to make changes to, feel free. If you've got any suggestions about ways I should have done things different, absolutely open to it. Essentially, there's a couple main methods here. So the first thing just gets the client. Oh, there you can hear it's in its bumping cycle. You can see we're 35, 40%. So this is of the 80 bump cycles, this is the percentage. So again, you as the end user can put in whatever many bump cycles you want, and it's just going to always show everything as a percentage. And because I didn't actually change the jumpers here to tell it that it would have actually hit the limit switch, it went through its whole close cycle and the bumping cycle and still didn't close. So it came back and said, hey, you got some air, we couldn't close. So the roof status is currently said it was trying to close, but it didn't. If I click this again, and oh, I already switched the jumper there. It actually closed. Um, so yep, so that's about it. Again, so yeah, as far as the loop goes, it looks for this client connection thing, and it does all the web interface stuff. Outside of the web interface, then there's basically two checks here. One is for the a loop for checking the power failure, so that's doing the ping checking. That's what that loop does. And then the last loop is for the auto close. So that's the loop for just looking at what time the roof should close, if that's been set, and if we currently are greater than that time, we go through the roof closing cycle. That's pretty much it for the Arduino code. Clear skies, guys.